I'll be honest, friends, I was pretty worried and nervous that I might not get this review up on time today for reasons I'm going to go into because, goodness, this was a read. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. I am continuing reviewing manga that you guys voted for in my shoujo event. If you're not familiar with that or curious about what won, be sure to check out this video here. This manga was trailblazing in the third and final round. It barely came in second place. It had been first place the whole time. And that is My Happy Marriage, the manga. I am reviewing volumes 1, volume 2, and volume 3. These covers are so pretty. They're so stunning. Like even the light novels and the manga. I mean, I don't have the light novels. I've seen the light novel covers. I mean, it is just pure eye candy. You could just buy these for the cover alone because they're just that gorgeous, just that stunning. Even the spine is really, really nice. Just a beautiful, eye-catching series. And whew, there are so many feelings and things I want to say about this series. I hope that I remember everything because I had so many thoughts last night and I'm like, Laura, please remember for today's video. But in case if you're not familiar with this series, it is a Cinderella inspired story. It follows our main lead here. Her name is Mio. She is in this family and she has been and is verbally and physically abused. She is considered lesser than a servant, even though technically she is the eldest. When her mother passed away, her father remarried his old flame, had a child. Everybody loves that child. The father completely ignores and basically abandons Mio to the despair and the suffering that she is enduring in this home. So at the beginning of this story, we have seen what has been happening to Mio, and her father says, hey, you are going to be a bridal candidate to this man here. His name is Lord Kudo, and he is a very strong magic user, and his clan that he's from, he's the head of the clan now, is very powerful. But the thing is the rumors are that Kudo is a very ruthless and very mean man, and so Mio feels like she has basically escaped one prison to go to a new one. But the thing is the rumors don't quite match up with who he is, and so begins a new beginning for her, including love blooming for the first time. And the reason I said that I was sort of worried that I would not have this review up on time is because this was the second time I've read volume 1. The first time I read it, I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I feel bad saying that I enjoyed it because it is a very heartbreaking volume. I very, very vividly remember the abuse that Mio faces and how she has no value in herself. Like she doesn't believe that she is worth anything. Because of all that, I really was like, I'm not ready to see the abuse that Mio is facing. It is not graphic or anything, but this manga, the writer, the creator excels, and I guess the artist as well, excels at showing those emotions on page in a way that just wraps around you, that I felt all of Mio's fears. I felt how valueless she felt, and the worry and the anxiousness and even her happiness as well, because thankfully there are some happy moments. I was living for those moments because it even gives me goosebumps now talking about it, because it was heartbreaking, it was heart crushing and very, I wouldn't say depressing, but this is not the typical read I usually pick up where it's a happy story. I mean, I had already had volumes 1 through 3 and I got the volumes 2 and 3 because I loved volume 1, even though I knew that I had cried when reading it, and I definitely cried in volume 2 because if the first volume was emotional, the other volumes were, especially volume 2, was even more so than this one. You instantly have this compassion for Mio and you want so much happiness for her. And there is a quote by a character in the 3rd volume, and he said, please find your happiness. I have not felt such a great desire as I have for Mio, that yes, I want her to deeply find happiness throughout this story. I don't feel that this is a boy saves girl kind of story, even though Lord Kudo does not match those rumors and he changes Mio's life. And I am so thankful. He is showing her what happiness is. He's showing her what love is and how she can hope for good things for herself, that she does not have to basically believe that her existence, that she shouldn't even be there, that there's no good thing that could ever happen to her, that it's just her fate, it's just her luck, and her luck just happens to be bad. No, Kudo shows her how she can live and bloom and just flourish, not because she is falling in love with this man per se, but because this man is showing her a new kind of living. I love it so much. I am so thankful for Lord Kudo and how he has impacted her, how he has touched her, and I'm deeply thankful that these two have a happy ending, at least within these 3 volumes, because I desperately needed to see it. It's very, very beautiful. If there is a lot of anguish and a lot of hurt and pain in this series, you can look at their relationship and you can see how love, hope, and trust, how it blooms and it changes a person for the better. It is so very beautiful. And that is why I was able to continue this series, because I'm not going to deny, I like being and feeling happy when I'm reading. I don't like to read triggering things. I don't like to read sad things, but there is just something so special and powerful about this series. And it's because of what I was just sharing about the hope, love, and trust that I see in these two, in the relationship and how they're growing as individuals, that makes me want to keep reading. I don't want to stop here. I don't want to stop. We'll stop there, here or there. This is not Dr. Seuss, but I'm very thankful and excited for the anime that it's coming up soon, because I think it's going to be a very powerful story, though I definitely think you should know that it is triggering. Not just triggering, I feel like, for the reader, but when it came to volume 2, oh my goodness, you know, writers be like this. When I was in the writer community and I did some writing, and that's actually where I struggled as a writer. I want my characters to be happy, but writers are like, you know what, our characters here are a little bit too happy. It's time to break them. I felt that was lived out to its fullest in this volume right here, especially after that first chapter. I'm like, we can't let Mio be happy. We can't let her just have this happiness and bask in it, and realizing again that there's value in her and that she's loved and that she doesn't have to knock herself down. But there was a trigger, there was an encounter, going back to what I said earlier of how the emotions are so strongly conveyed in the writing and the art style. I felt that trigger intensely for Mio. Like, I felt it for myself, and it was so frustrating. It was so upsetting because she reverts back to who she was when she first meets Lord Kudo, and I'm like, no, like, no. But I thought that was a very well portrayed part of this series when it comes to, I feel like, abuse, and I hope I say this well. I have undergone or have experienced verbal abuse when I was growing up, and I feel like just the way that the creator showed that trigger moment for Mio and that encounter, and how, you know, you can get out of an abusive situation and you can heal and those memories can fade, but it takes one moment, just one moment, for everything to unravel. All the progress that you've made feels instantly burned up and lost. And I feel like Mio, she even says something similar that I just felt was very powerfully portrayed, or more, I should say, realistically portrayed, that I found very relatable in that moment, even though I'm not gonna lie, that is where I got very emotional, because I'm like, no, Mio, you have tasted, you have seen the kindness that has been shown to you from people who genuinely care for you, that don't view you as a servant, they view you as you, and that you can be a fiance to Kudo simply because you are you. That seeing that truth unfold in Mio's life, where she's realizing it, is everything. I feel like it is such a powerful part of this series that keeps you just engaged, especially if you're like me and prefer to read those fluffy stories. This emotional story, I mean, I felt I was on cloud 9 with a lot of happiness, and then I was super sad, and then I was super mad, then I was very worried. I think it was this volume going into volume 3, especially, going into volume 3, because the first half of this manga of volume 3, wraps up the first and final, or first arc. I think somebody said that it concludes the first volume of the light novels, because you definitely feel a change going into the second half of this volume. But I think the last time that I felt so intensely worried and concerned about a character was when I read volume 2 of Villains Are Destined to Die. I really thought Penelope might not make it in that series, and when it came to the first half of volume 3, I felt the same exact way. I forgot to breathe. I forgot what was happening on in my home. I was so invested into this moment and needing to know, is Mio going to be okay? Is she going to come out of this? It was very, very intense, and I am struggling how to explain what I felt for Mio in that moment, because it is a very scary situation. But Mio, for the first time, stands up against her abuser. She stands up for herself, and I feel hesitant to say I'm so proud of you, Mio, because of the intensity and the worry in that situation. But I was just I was proud of her. I was so touched that she made the decision in that moment when her life is on the line and she is not going to let go of and keep fighting. It was a beautiful and powerful moment that just hit me like a ton of bricks. It is such a powerful thing when you see somebody stand up against their abusers or their bullies and say, no, I am not backing down to you this time. I'm not going to give in to what you want. And that's exactly what Mio did. And I think in this moment too, no, it was in the volume before that, which I'll talk about that in a second. But the only hard part, or just not hard part, the first half was hard. The only disappointing part is I feel like with the transitioning to a new arc, the second half of this volume was not quite as engaging as the previous volumes have been. I'm actually really worried that our couple, because they had such a happy ending, like the ending of that arc was wonderful. It was perfectly them. I was so incredibly happy. In fact, I could have just stopped reading after that moment because that is how full my heart felt. And I almost felt like I needed that break because of the emotional journey I have been on with these two characters thus far. But I kept reading because I wanted to finish the whole volume, obviously. And there is definitely a change in the atmosphere. You feel like there is a lurking danger. I'm not very excited about that because I think things are going to be hard for Mio, but I'm worried that our characters might separate due to the events that look like the foreshadowing of them anyway is going to be taking place. I'm not really sure where this series is going to go. I feel nervous because the first 3 volumes, or the first 2 and the first half of this, were very powerful. And I feel like, as bad as I feel saying, I feel like there's going to need a lot of emotional investment to top the emotional investment I have had thus far. It leaves me uncertain with these new events. How is Mio going to be happy? I need to have something that shows what her happiness is going to be. Thankfully, with the preview at the end of this volume, I'm pretty sure there was a preview. Yes, I feel like it did give me that inkling because the romantic aspect was not quite as strong in this last part of this volume. Now, I really don't want to talk about her, but I feel like it's sort of important because when you meet the stepsister here, Kaya, this girl here, you hate her. You hate her. I mean, if there's any person that likes her, kudos to you because I hate the way that she treats Mio, but her mom is worse. Oh my gosh, no, that woman, so much anger towards that woman as a character because of how she treats Mio. But Kaya, I disliked her, hated her guts in the beginning, couldn't stand her. I want Mio to get as far away from her. She is a horrible character, but I was really, really shocked. I went into volume 2 and I'm not going to say that I like Kaya at all. No, I don't, but I will say it. Kudos to the writer because you get some of her backstory, and though I don't dislike her any less, I did have feelings of sympathy towards her, and I never expected that. Do I think she got what she rightfully deserved though? Oh yes, and she probably should have gotten some more punishment, and her mama definitely should have gotten more punishment. If there was one part that I was really unhappy about, it was the punishment that mom should have gotten and how she did not get what she deserved. She deserved so much more, and I'm just like, some of these characters deserved a lot more punishment that they did. I think that's actually going to play a role in the next volume. Not very excited about that because I'm ready to be done with them. Like Mio said, there is nothing else left to be said. She didn't say it with a hand, she didn't say it like that. She's like, there's nothing else that needs to be said. I'm like, you don't need to see them ever again. You stay with Lord Kudo and you be happy because, again, going back to what I said at the beginning, what this character said, please find your happiness. It is the strongest desire I have for Mio. She deserves all the happiness, and I admire how she said, if all of the pain, all of the suffering led me to this moment to be here with Lord Kudo, then it was worth it. And I'm just like, I admire your attitude that you're able to say that with the amount of things you have endured. That is incredible strength. It was an emotional and impactful journey reading this, and I never expected to really just come to love it as much as I did because, like I said, I love my fluffy fiction, and this is not fluffy. It's not graphic, but I feel like when you see the abuse, it is very triggering. It's very upsetting. It's like you just want those abusers to get out the picture. You want justice justice to be rightfully deserved and given out. But you also want to see Mio be so deeply happy with Lord Kudo, and I really liked Lord Kudo as a character. And before I wrap up this video, I do want to say I thought it interesting how there was a really nice balance in this series where you get Mio's perspective and then you get Lord Kudo's perspective. Like, you get to be in both sides of their minds, and I really appreciate that. I feel like it's sort of rare with the manga that I have read where we don't quite get so much. Like, you might get a little bit where like the main story will be from the heroine's perspective, and then like you may get a side character, the hero's perspective, like maybe a few pages. No, for quite a few pages, you don't get like where it's a dual perspective. I'd say at least 25%, maybe 35% comes from Lord Kudo's perspective, and really appreciate that. It was done very well. It wasn't confusing of whose mind are we in this moment, and thought that was really well done and very, very unique. So with all that said, friends, would I recommend this? Yes, just be mindful of those triggers that I mentioned. I am very curious about the anime. Since I finished, I can finally go watch the trailer because I told myself I would not watch it until I read these 3 volumes. So shout out to you, friends, for voting, for all the people who voted for this series. It is a very moving and powerful story, and if that is a story that you really enjoy reading, this is a must-read shoujo manga, especially with very strong heroines who do not give up, but also go on this incredible internal journey that does have turmoil, but that ends with hope and love. But let me know, friends, have you read My Happy Marriage? Did you enjoy it? Have you read the light novels? Are you going to be watching the anime? I would love to hear from you, and please stay tuned for next week because I will be reviewing the 3rd and final manga that was in the top 3, and that is QQ Sweeper and Queen's Quality. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!